Do you like to irritate your opponent with a bunch of negates and even more negates? This deck is for you. Welcome back to the channel, and today I have a Altergeist Deck Profile that I would like to share with everyone. This is a deck that I've been using for quite a while, but I decided to use it a bit more for Season 5 because it's just I feel like trying out this deck in ranking, even though that everyone voted for Pendulum Magician to be played. But I managed to climb from Gold to Plat with Pendulum Magician, and now I'm just trying out Altergeist as well. So before I go into the deck list, do remember to like, subscribe, comment down below, hit the notification bell, and also join our Discord channel for more discussion. And yeah, let's jump right into the deck list. So at one glance, you actually have not much idea how Altergeist deck really works, because like it has a bunch of very small monsters, like what, 500 with 800 and 1006, and there's a 0 attack monster with 2004. And the largest monster it has is actually just a 2008 with Hextech of 1005. And if you look at it as an individual card, those card effects don't look very amazing. But if you think it as a whole, as a control deck, it's actually a really very irritating deck. So I think when this video is released, you'll be able to see a bit more Altergeist replays in my channel. So hopefully it'll give you a bit more understanding of why this deck is so irritating. Yeah. So a quick glance through of the quick summary of each of the card. So Melusi itself, you can direct attack, and once it hits your opponent, you can target one card and send it to the graveyard. This effect happens during damage step, so negation that just negate effect won't be able to negate this card. And if this card is sent into the graveyard, you can add one Altergeist monster from your deck to your hand. So the main thing for this deck to function is the one that's limited to one, which is your Multi-Faker. Your Multi-Faker, this card itself is the main engine for the whole deck. When you activate a trap card, you can special summon this card from your hand after the trap card resolve, and then once this card is special summoned, you can then special summon one Altergeist monster from your deck in defense position, except itself. And so most of the time, when we come out with Multi-Faker, the effect will use it to come out, usually I just call it Bird, Secretos. Okay, I'm not really good at pronouncing this name, so I'll just go back to calling it Bird. So with this card and Altergeist and Multi-Faker on the field, let me jump right to the Bird. The Bird effect, you can return one Altergeist monster as a cost, and then target one card opponent control and return it to the hand. So this card can every turn just return one card to your opponent's hand. Yeah, doesn't sound amazing, but it's a bit of a mixture around. So this is not the only card that so-called negates your opponent or interrupts your opponent. There's also stuff like Melusic, which sends one card. Then there's Konkori. To me, this is one of my favorite cards in the deck. Doesn't sound like much, but if your opponent declares an attack, when you control Altergeist card, be it a monster or a threat, you can special summon this card and then negate the attack. And at the same time, you can target one card on the field and negate the effect of that card. So this card, this negation can also work on spell or trap. So if let's say your opponent has Imperial Order, you can actually, once Konkori is out, you can actually negate the Imperial Order, and then you can activate your spells again. So this card is really very useful. But once it leaves the field, the negation will disappear. So do take note of that. So if you think about it, this negate attack isn't a once per turn. This whole thing is not a once per turn. So when you special summon this card and negate attack, you can actually bounce back with the Bird, bounce back your horse. Yeah, this is actually a horse. And then when it's in your hand, you can negate another attack. So if you think about it, your opponent actually needs more than 3 monsters to actually go through it. So you usually negate the first attack with Konkori. Then the second monster attack, you'll bounce back Konkori with your Bird. And then when Konkori is back in your hand, you can negate the third attack with your Konkori again. So actually there's a lot of protection. It's sometimes quite hard to touch Altergeist monster. Yeah. Then there's a Pukari, which allows you to link from your hand, and then you can add it back to your hand after it's link summoned. And this can only be used once per turn. This card usually is good to go with Melusic to combo into your Hextech. Yeah, so I'll go into Hextech in a while. And your main setup person will be Marionetta. This card, when normal summon, you can set one Altergeist trap directly from your deck to your spell trap zone. This card cannot be Ash because it sets directly from your deck and not to your hand. So the two cards that the two Altergeist trap that you have is actually your Altergeist Manifestation and your Altergeist Protocol. Manifestation is like a monster reborn, or you can call it Call of the Haunted. You can on activation you target one Altergeist monster from your graveyard and summon it out, and then this trap will actually like link to that monster. So if either one of them leaves the field, you can both card will leave the field, the other one will leave the field. Yeah. And this also has another effect, which you banish this one card, you can target one trap in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So usually I don't really use this, but in desperate moment you really need it. And then the other Altergeist trap card is actually the Protocol. This card prevents your effect from being negated. So and then you can also send one of your Altergeist monster to the graveyard to negate the activation of a card for monster effect and then destroy it. This is a very very strong card, especially the fact that the cards on your field cannot be negated. So if this is face out on the field, you cannot effect Veiler or Gamma any of the Altergeist card. So do take note, especially when you're also fighting with Altergeist monsters. I mean Altergeist deck. So the rest of the card is actually really to support the deck. Dino Wrestler is like an optional thing. You don't really have to craft a UR just to fit this in. This is just something that I like. And you can replace it with like Raigeki or Lightning Storm, and that's fine as well. And Infinite Imperm is, to me, you definitely need 3 of this, because this card itself, if let's say your opponent goes first and then you have Infinite Imperm and Multi-Flicker on your hand, you can actually activate Imperm. Then once Imperm resolve, your Multi-Flicker can use its effect to jump out because you activated a trap, even though it's not even your turn yet, which is very very strong. It's like 2 interruption. One is a negation, one is your Multi-Flicker come up, will summon a bird, and the bird can bounce back one monster. So, and in this set, I play Pot of Extravagance as well, because you actually don't need most of your extra deck card other than Hextia and maybe 1 memory gun. And for me, I only have 2 memory gun because that's the only 2 that I open, and I don't wish to craft a third one just so that my Extravagance won't banish it, because actually most of the time you also won't really use memory gun. So 3 Hextia with 2 memory gun is good enough. The rest is really utility cards that you want to consider. Ninguitsu is one of the useful card here, because the main weakness of Altergeist is as long as your opponent has a card that cannot be targeted, Altergeist is pretty much dead. They can't really like do anything to that card, because all your effects all targets. Your bounce back targets, your Mollusic targets, and yeah, the only way is to really increase your attack and try to punch through it. Okay, speaking about trap, so you'll try to play as many trap as possible. So I play 3 Judgment, and some users, duelists, really like to play 3 Solemn Strike as well, or even Torrential Tribute, Compulsory Evacuation. There's a number of choice, all the generic trap you can actually throw into the deck. And I played the Skill Drain variant. Why is Skill Drain viable in this deck? So remember that Protocol itself prevents your Altergeist card effect from being negated. So it actually stops your own Skill Drain. So Skill Drain will be on the field, but your Altergeist monster can still activate its effect because Protocol is on the field. So do remember to take note, if you want to activate Skill Drain, make sure you have one Protocol on the field. And lastly, this trap itself, although is used for Altergeist, but it doesn't have the name Altergeist. This is I think the main reason they are doing this, so that your Marionetta cannot set your personal spoofing onto the field, because personal spoofing itself is actually quite a important card. With spoofing itself, you can search for any Altergeist card, which most of the time we want to search for Multi-Flicker, and at times we want to search for Kunkurei to negate the attack. And during your own turn, you'll want to search for Marionetta to set more of your more traps. So this is something to take note. And yeah, there's a bunch of like interaction that you can do, because all these cards, especially like spoofing and the bird, all these they actually send like for example, that you can shuffle one Altergeist card from your hand or face up into the main deck. This is a cost, so before you even resolve, this thing already happened. So it does help when you, let's say, open up your manifestation as chain 1 to attempt to revive something. Your chain 2, your spoofing, can actually send that face up manifestation back into the deck to search for other cards. If you do it this way, when the monster comes back onto the field, the manifestation won't be linked to the monster. So even if manifestation is not on the field, your monster will still stay on the field. So these are some very very interesting interaction that Altergeist have. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure explaining this much won't really show you how Altergeist win, because it's still a bunch of very very small monster. And oh yeah, and if you remember, protocol is negate monster effect, Hextech itself is negate spell or trap, and then it increases attack based on the monster that the attack of the monster that it points to. So if you have 2 Hextech, it's like 1005, which makes it like a 3000. And the biggest monster you can have is actually Memory Gun by tributing one of your Altergeist monster to make it into a 4000 plus attack monster. And this card itself is pretty sick. If you destroy a monster by battle, you can destroy one monster your opponent control, and if you do that, you can actually attack again. So mainly you are actually removing like 3 cards on your opponent field, which is quite sick. Okay, so without further ado, let me just jump right into one of the duo that I recently have. I think it's this, and I'll try as much to explain it in summary first. And if you guys think that you need some sort of a tutorial video for Altergeist, because there's not a lot in YouTube, do feel free to let me know in the comment section below as well. And yeah, so how Altergeist usually work is we will just try to set as much trap as possible. This is a pretty good hand, and if you realize, I decided to set everything, because even if our opponent has like Lightning Storm or Harpy, my judgment can actually stop them. So I'm not afraid. Usually, if let's say I do not have judgment, I might keep maybe Infinite Imperm in my hand, so that I have at least like 1 trap to jump out my Faker. Okay, so let's go in. So Altergeist is a control deck, if you haven't realized. So yeah, so the case like this, they already have something to destroy all my traps, so I have my judgment to negate it. Although it's pretty painful, it's something that you need to do because you need a lot of trap. So once the trap is activated, you can special summon your multi-faker, and your multi-faker can summon out your bird, so you have actually 1 interruption. But in this case, they actually give me 1 monster, so my bird effect, I can't use anything other unless I return my protocol. But I think let's see what I do. I forget how this game works. Okay, so in battle phase, I decided to flip open protocol and then use my spoofing to return the protocol, because I want to negate this effect. But apparently he managed to ash away my spoofing, and this leads me to a bird that doesn't have anything to return. So the bird is like more or less just dead. It is just dead from there. Yeah. So still it doesn't show much of the Altergeist deck. See, I already activated 2 judgment. I'm left with 2000, and opponent has like 8000. And I still do not have like a proper monster on the field. So how do this deck even win? So thanks to him, I get to draw 1 more, but it's another spoofing which I don't need. Now I need an Altergeist card, and I managed to draw 1. So on normal summon, I set 1 Altergeist trap, and he attempted to imperm me, but gladly he put it at the same corner as mine, so I imperm back him and negate his imperm. This allows me to set a trap card, which I think I set the manifestation. Yeah, it's either protocol or manifestation, but at this point I just decided to do this. Okay, so another effect for Marionette, I can actually tribute 1 Altergeist card on the field to special summon back 1 monster. So I grab out multi-faker, which multi-faker will help me bring back the bird as well. Yeah. So if you realize, I don't have to do anything yet, because he can't punch through me. I can just return him. Okay, so what I did now is I decided to monster reborn 1 card, which is my Marionette, and then use my spoofing to shuffle back my manifestation. So even though manifestation is not on the field, I can still bring back the Marionette that I just did. Yep. And instead of him attacking, he decided not to attack, because if he attacks, I will be able to summon out my Kunkuri. That's one of the reasons why I tried to do that. And during the end turn, I just send back his monster and return my Marionette back to my hand. And then I can again normal summon my Marionette, and then set 1 more trap card, which I'll set back my manifestation that return it during the opponent's turn. And then I just decide to get 1 Pukuri out, because I want to get out my Hextech just in case he has some sort of like spell or trap that is very irritating. So I link my multi-faker to Repokuri to place my Hextale on top of Marionette so I can get the damage boost from there. So now I have a spell negation with Hextale by tributing my Marionette, and I have a protocol which negates monster effect by tributing Altergeist monster. So Pokuri will add back to your hand because it's being used as a link material for this. Yeah, so you realize there's a lot of control. There's return, there's negate attack, there's a negate spell, negate trap, there's negate monster. So that's generally how this deck works. So all the monsters are very small. You really slowly poke them. You don't go all in to bring out every monster, because one thing is also you want to take note of Nibiru as well. So similarly, I did the same thing. Reborn something, and then protocol spoofing or sandbag manifestation to grab it out. Then multi-faker or summon Melusik. Because Melusik, when it enters the graveyard, I can bring out one monster. Okay, so you summon a monster, and I think one thing to take note is multi-faker effect. If you use it to special summon a monster from your deck, you cannot special summon anything else other than Altergeist for that turn. So if you have Nibiru that turn, you can't use Faker, and if you have Jump Out Dino Wrestler, you can't use Faker as well. So do take note when you're playing this deck. That's the biggest con. So you attempt to activate some monster effect, then my protocol can negate this effect. And then it gets destroyed and sent. And then Melusik gets sent to the graveyard. I can add one Altergeist monster into my hand, which I actually don't really need it right now. And then he special summon and he wants to attack me. I can negate using Konkuri again. So if you realize this is how the deck works, you just keep negating, stopping people, returning back to their hand, just screw up with their combo, and after that you just slowly poke them to death. This is generally how Altergeist works. So if you really like to irritate opponent, I think this is a deck for you. Do consider it. I would say this deck is really very hard to play because there's a lot of thinking, like when should you jump multi-faker to get out the bird, when should you bounce back the card, if you bounce back the card to your opponent's hand, can you activate it again, and when do you imperm, can you activate skill gen without protocol. So it's a really very complex deck, and it takes quite some time for me to play. In terms of combo wise, I won't say that it's as complicated as Pendulum Magician, but to play a control deck and to control them properly and to keep your resource in your hand, that's something that you need time and you need a lot of experience and practice, yeah, especially with this deck. And I think I didn't highlight that just now. During the game itself, my graveyard actually has no Altergeist monster, even though it seems like I activated a lot of things, but everything is either back in the deck or actually back in my hand. So that's something that you want to achieve in this deck. You want to try to keep as much as your Altergeist card from entering the graveyard as possible, because there's a lot of ways to recycle. Like the bird recycles a trap, and then your trap recycle another trap, and then your Marionette can actually bounce back cards, and yeah, so there's a lot of ways for you to recycle those cards. Yeah. So do give it a try, and maybe comment down below if you think a tutorial of this deck will be good, and do let me know if there's any other deck that I have that you would like to me to share as well, and I'll gladly do a deck profile video, or even if I don't have the deck, I'll get someone else to come in and explain, just like how I did for Magical Musketeer deck. So yeah, that's all for this deck profile, and if you have any other questions, do drop in the comments below. Do remember to like, subscribe, comment down below, join our Discord if you have more questions, and also hit the notification bell for the latest updates from my channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video.